This is the fantasy or the Dynasty Roundtable podcast. I almost said fantasy football something. I don't even know where my mind was headed. Maybe fantasy pros.
I think that's what you were going to say.
I'm not that important yet,
future.
ladies and gentlemen. I am not that important yet to be hosting a show on Fantasy Pros. One day, perhaps. One day, maybe. We shall see. But tonight, as you can see, we have the draft board ready to roll. We have 3 rounds of rookie mock draft to do. Matt Babich is here as always. Matt, how you doing?
Doing great, Seth. It's March. My bracket's busted. Purdue is in the Sweet 16 though. It's great. We got sports galore right now. We're heading into the NHL, NBA playoffs. We got MLB baseball kicking off. Fake opening day is tomorrow. Real opening day on the 26th. And it's all coming together. We got the NFL draft in a month, and I relish this season so much because it gets us through the dog days of the NFL off season, and we're almost through to where we have some real football coming back on our airwaves. So it's great time to be a sports fan.
Yeah, and I was told, Matt, that there was no chance that my Iowa Hawkeyes could beat the Florida Gators in that matchup. And I just want to say to those individuals who laughed at me when I asked, hey, do you think the Hawkeyes have a chance? They were like, no. I just want to tell those people,
you can call me.
You can hang your hopes and dreams on Tim Tebow all you want. He's not coming back through those doors, or Bobby Donovan, or whatever the coach's name is.
Billy Donovan.
I like Bobby. I like Bobby Donovan better. I think.
Now,
anyway, Joakim Noah is not coming through those doors. Is that the right sport?
Joakim Noah. That is the right sport.
All right.
Walter Clayton from last year, Walter Clayton Jr. You can call me a Hawkeye respecter because a close friend of mine was on. I tail a lot of his college basketball bets because I don't watch it that much, and so I usually it takes me a few games of the tournament to start kind of actually getting my own opinions of these teams. And he had Florida -10, and I couldn't bring myself to do it because I said that's a lot of points. Iowa really likes to just drag you into a dogfight. And I said I don't think Florida beats this team by 10. So I went with the under, and I was right. And I was double right because Iowa played an absolute hell of a game. I mean, they got out to an early lead and really just kind of parked the bus, played defensively, kept their fundamentals. And really, there's no reason why, if they beat Florida, there's no reason why they can't find a way to go to the Final Four. They have a Nebraska team coming up that they've played close twice now. I think they may have split. I think they may have won one of those matchups. And then if Illinois beats Houston, that's another Big Ten tournament team or a Big Ten team that they're very familiar with. And then if Houston's obviously going to be their biggest threat, but if they beat Florida, why can't they beat Houston? So a lot to look forward to for your Hawkeyes.
We'll see. I kind of feel like this is the end. That's just the feeling I get.
I think Nebraska might win by 15, but
but I think Iowa still might be drunk showing up to this Sweet 16 game. But
you got to be happy with that kind of season, though, as a college basketball fan.
Yeah, I mean, way exceeded my expectations for sure. But yeah, let's get
to college football.
So the NFL draft is less than a month away now, and it's about to get real serious here real quick.
We're already sorry to interject, but we're already getting the pre-draft BS. And this is where I've said it before. Seth said it before.
Uh-oh.
It can almost be better to just turn your ears off from now into the draft. Because Seth, Dan Orlovsky is on a media tear.
Oh my God.
Saying how every GM but 2 in the NFL agrees that Ty Simpson is a better quarterback prospect than Fernando Mendoza. Seth, would you care to get, and Mike Tannenbaum, by the way, came in on Twitter and agreed with Dan Orlovsky. Seth, would you care to venture a guess as to what could possibly link Dan Orlovsky, Mike Tannenbaum, and Ty Simpson?
The Jets? I don't know.
An
I have
agency. They share the same
oh,
agency. So it's just absolutely shameless
wow.
crap that we have going on in NFL media, where we got Mike Tannenbaum and Dan Orlovsky going on an absolute rampage of a media campaign to get somebody within their own agency's draft stock to go up. And it's just you get things like this, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. So be really careful, who you decide to listen to and whose opinion you take stock on these days, because anyone will say anything right now for views.
Yeah, this is pretty downright shameful. And I'll eat my hat if Ty Simpson goes number 1 overall for some reason. I mean, he did not play well in basically his one and only season as the starting quarterback for Alabama, in my opinion. He didn't play well enough to be the number 1 overall pick, that's for sure. Yeah, whenever you have to post on Twitter, no motives, just an opinion on what your take is, that's probably a signal that you did have a motive in mind there. ESPN has been unwatchable for a long time now. I can't, even Pat McAfee stuff I've never really been into because I understand what that is, and it's fine for some people. It's just, it's not my cup of tea, to be honest with you. And I don't know. I appreciate the fantasy football community and the people involved in it and their takes, and I would much prefer to watch somebody from, I don't know, Fantasy Pros, somebody BDGE. Like, I would much prefer to watch an independent content creator, whoever that might be, a trusted one. The South Harmon guys, in my opinion, are super entertaining. Mike and Adam and all those boys, T-Rock and Fizz we had on the show. Super entertaining, great group of guys. I would much rather watch those guys than ESPN. Just my take. But anyway, we should probably start this thing at some point. Yeah. I'm not gonna really talk too much about this because my 101 is Jeremiah Love. I think he's the consensus 101. Anything to add here? I know that you have Fernando Mendoza at the 101, and we've kind of talked about why, but I don't know. That's probably going to be your pick here at the 102, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's my pick. The only thing I'll do is just kind of rehash this for anybody who hasn't seen any of our other mock drafts or conversations on this. I think Mendoza is stepping into an improving situation. And for rookie quarterbacks, I mean, he's stepping into a better situation than Drake May stepped into. And, I had you and Tyler Knabley back in the day literally laugh at me, telling me that it was stupid. Like, why would the Patriots draft Drake May when they don't have any offensive linemen? Like, why would you want Drake May stepping into that situation? And there's you guys had a really good laugh at me. Wow. I should probably try and pull that clip.
We should find that clip, and I would be more than happy to load it here and play it and laugh at myself for sure.
I don't think you found it as funny as Tyler, but anyway, he's got Brock Bowers. They're going to be expanding that receiver core some way, somehow, most likely through this draft. They have Ashton Genty. They just paid Tyler Linderbaum like an absolute horse ton of money to play center, shoring up the offensive line. They still have a bad defense, and so they're going to need to be playing from behind. And they have Clint Kubiak, offensive genius at head coach. I really like the way Fernando Mendoza plays. I love the way he carries himself. And I think in Superflex, where quarterback is always going to be the most premium asset, I'm going to take Mendoza 101. I will not scoff or argue with anybody who wants to take Jeremiah Love 101. They're in the same tier for me. So that's why I would have Mendoza 101, but I'm not scoffing at anybody who wants to take Love 101 at all.
Yeah, I think if you have the 101, 102 in this year's rookie draft, you're in a great spot because you have the elite asset in Jeremiah Love, who's my 101, and you can kind of hold that for a king's ransom if you want to. And I think you definitely should see what somebody is going to offer you, because if you have the 101, we've talked about it before, you probably have a ton of needs, and Jeremiah Love fills one of those needs, and he fills it really well. Fills your running back spot, looks really great as a starting roster piece, but I think you got to put it on the block, even if you're the biggest Jeremiah Love fan in the world. And same for the 102. I mean, there aren't, despite what Dan Orlovsky might say, there are not a ton of good quarterbacks in this draft class. And Fernando Mendoza is by far and away, leaps and bounds, the best quarterback in this draft class. And I know he ran a lot of RPO at Indiana. I'm sure many people are aware of this, but I do think that his game, his big bodied frame at 6'5", 236 pounds, the ability to be a tactical scrambler, I think that works at the NFL in today's day and age. And I think in the NFL these days, you can mix in a little RPO. You see that on Sundays sometimes, not a ton, but sometimes. So it won't be as foreign to him as it might, as it could be. But with that being said, it is going to be an adjustment. And I do think that there's going to be a long buy window if you're a fan of Fernando Mendoza to potentially buy him if a fantasy manager gets frustrated with him, and potentially if he doesn't do as well as we think. Maybe like Cam Ward, except Fernando Mendoza is better and in a better situation, tied to an offensive play caller. So it's a much better situation, which is why he's my 102 as well. So I think you're in a great spot if you have the 101 or the 102. I'm going to throw up my my wide receiver one, and that would be Jordan Tyson. This is as I watched the film on Tyson, to me, he was the most well-rounded wide receiver that I scouted. I think he's the better route runner than Carnell Tate, and I really like Carnell Tate too. So the pick 3 to 4 is a little bit different than 4 to 5, and I like Mekhi Lemon too. But I think clearly, as I've done my homework, Tyson and Carnell Tate to me are clearly the 1A and the 1B in this class, and it's going to be interesting to see which one goes first in the NFL draft. But it's just, for me, I just thought that Tyson was the most well-rounded player, and I think his athleticism is really good. And if he didn't, if he weren't dealing with injuries, and I suppose you could say the same thing about Carnell Tate. Well, if Carnell Tate wasn't playing behind all these awesome wide receivers, he would have been amazing. True. I mean, you can make an argument for either one, but Jordan Tyson is my guy. I'll throw it to you at the 104 to comment, make your pick, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I'll take Carnell Tate, who's my 1A out of the 1A, 1B, but nevertheless a 1A, 1B. Him and Tyson just profile to have a better range of outcomes than Mekhi Lemon. They just profile as more complete assets. If ands and buts were coconuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas or something like that. Whatever that phrase is. I definitely butchered it. But if Carnell Tate were at Arizona State playing in the Jordan Tyson alpha role against what are they in now? They're not in the Pac-12 anymore.
What are they? I don't.
Are they
even
in the
know
Big 12? I think Arizona State went to the Big 12. But playing against Big 12 defenses, I'm pretty sure that's what they're in.
Yeah, Big 12.
Yeah, playing against Big 12 defenses instead of being next to Jeremiah Smith in a Big 10 conference, playing against not every defense was amazing, but a lot more consistently better defenses in the Big 10. I do think Carnell Tate would just have posted some asinine numbers. But yeah, I'm taking him at the 104. Again, not going to put up too much of a fight. Which one do you prefer there?
Yeah, and Mekhi Lemon, I do think has an insane amount of upside, but I just think the difference between him and Tyson and Tate is those two guys could play all over the field, and I do think that Lemon can eventually play all over the field, but he's going to come into the NFL and probably be slotted into the slot, for lack of a better way of saying that. And I think he's really physical. I think he's great after the catch. I think he's got great hands. I think he does a lot of things that you saw Cooper Kupp do back in his heyday, and that's kind of my comp for him. And if he turns out to be Cooper Kupp, that would be really great. So at the 105, I think you're really happy with this pick because I think it does fall off a little bit. Maybe not as much from the 5 to the 106. Like maybe it's a hot take, but I think the fall off from the 104 to the 105 might be greater than the fall off from the 105 to the 106 because there's a
Well,
receiver that I
Kenyon
like there, but
Kenyon Sadiq's biggest fan. Oh, it's you're gonna take you would okay. I see where you're going with that.
yeah.
I'm going to oh man, it's gotten tougher and tougher for me to figure out the 106 here, especially when we introduce tight end premium into the situation. Um, I am gonna go with I've come around a little bit on KC Concepcion. And so I'm gonna go with him at the 106.
That's who I would have taken at the 106 too. So.
I think part of it is there was a point in time where I wasn't necessarily giving him enough credit for his size. Like I was kind of working around like he was like 5'10, 5'11, but he's 6 feet tall. You know, he can play in that boundary X role. I do think he profiles more as a slot receiver like Mekhi Lemon. And you know, not necessarily in that top tier of receivers, but definitely a solid playmaker. And Seth, you've mentioned it, and this is the crux of the argument. You turn on the film, and he's just always open. He's just always open. And so I love a lot of what I see on the tape as I've watched more of him. I do think a lot of what he can do can translate to the next level. And I'm not as high as on Kenyon Sadiq as you are, and it was between him and a running back for me. But I'm going to go with KC for right now.
Yeah, I would have taken Casey Concepcion, and this is a change for me because I had Kenyon Sadiq as my 106, and I'm still pretty high on Kenyon Sadiq. The issue, the literal difference between the two is Casey Concepcion showed it to me on tape just about every play. He was open at Texas A&M at the wide receiver position. I mean, he's incredible. I think he's really good, and it was literally you turn on the tape and you go, like when I turn on the tape, and I'm not a professional scout, but I'm just looking for plays that I go, like I sit back and I go, holy shit, like this guy's good. Like this guy's getting separation. You know, like I turned on the tape and I was like, oh yeah, Jordan Tyson's good. Yeah, Carnell Tate, really good, gets separation deep down the field. His quarterback sucked, which, you know, maybe if his quarterback didn't suck, his stats might have been better. Maybe, you know, obviously if Jeremiah Smith wasn't there, but Casey Concepcion, just, I mean, he's like 7-Eleven. He's always open. I mean, is that what the kids say these days? I mean, just unbelievable tape. And I also think he's a pretty good blocker too. So I think he's going to get on the field right away. Also a good punt returner, kick returner. So there's also that. I will throw up Kenyon Sadiq. And again, Kenyon Sadiq, I don't know the best way to describe this, but Kenyon Sadiq to me, it was kind of like, okay, he's there. Okay. Kind of like, and then there would be a play where he would just run up the seam and just blow by a linebacker, and you go, holy shit, where did that come from? Like, why don't they just do that on every play? Like he's just gone. Like he's just like there's no shot. Like it's almost like they're lulling the defense to sleep, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, we have Kenyon Sadiq in the red zone that we can just, you know, he'll fly past the linebacker, he'll overpower a safety or a corner, and yeah, I mean he's a freak. I mean, and I think even though he only played about 25% of his snaps in line, I do think he can do it. But I just don't know if that style or that aspect of his game is rounded into form for the NFL to meet the NFL standard right now. But I do think he could be that. But even if he doesn't get there, I think he has top 5 tight end in Dynasty kind of upside. Like same thing that we talked about with Kyle Pitts. Could also be a long buy window for him. And he's risky as well because we've definitely seen these tight ends not hit before. I mean, what other athletic tight ends have we taught? Like OJ Howard, Eric Ebron. Like, I don't think the profiles are Kyle Pitts, you know, like the profiles aren't 100% similar, but you know, we've Noah Fant, you know, there have been athletic tight ends that have hit good landing spots before in round 1. and we've waited on him and waited it on him and waited on him, and for whatever reason, it just doesn't work. And that's certainly possible for Kenyon Sadiq, which is why, I think the 107 is kind of where it really falls off. Even though I really like Kenyon Sadiq, um, but I do acknowledge that that risk is there. So I'll throw it to you at the 108.
So at the 108, I'm going to take Jadarian Price. There's
Oh, wow.
two Notre Dame running backs. I think there's just so much that he brings to the table that he couldn't put on film being behind Jeremiah Love. He's a better pass catcher than we can kind of give him credence for, especially on the box score stats. And I think it's a really close race for RB2 through 5 in this class. RB2 through 4 in this class is a really close race. And I'm going to start to be kind of taking these guys over the back end of the first round and into the early second, just because some of these wide receivers that are on the board, I just don't. I'm not in love with. There's one who I could take here next at the 110 if you don't. But I love the way he plays, and I think that he's going to be one of those guys that, despite having to play behind Jeremiah Love, is going to have a very good scouting report and might be the second RB taken in the actual NFL draft.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. I just watched some film on Jadarian Price this morning, actually, so it's still fresh in my brain. I think he's really good. I don't know. Like I sat there and tried to think of a comp for him, and I couldn't. It's still blank. I'm still working on a comparison for him because he's a little bit smaller than I thought he would be at 203 pounds. But there's no doubt, like, if he's going to hit the hole and he's going to get what's blocked for him, and the Notre Dame offensive line was really good, so there might be an adjustment period in the NFL. And I think it's just a matter of, if he gets day 2 draft capital, which I think is really possible, I'll be more in on him. But if he falls to day 3, he might be one of those guys that just kind of gets forgotten about. But to the pass catching, I know he didn't have a lot of, pass catching because Jeremiah Love was in the picture. I think he profiles just fine as a pass catcher from what I've seen on tape. So I do think that he could be an all-purpose back in the NFL. It's just a matter of, is he good enough to take on that workload? Probably not. I mean, I think he's more of like a part of a committee, but I do think he can play in the NFL. It's just gonna be
he's like a
7-8%
situation target share guy. Like he's not a pass catcher, but he's also not going to be that full 3-down workhorse that also takes 14% of the targets. Like he's a David Montgomery where he can and will take passes, and if you let him slip on a screen, like he can bust it for 30-35 yards and just absolutely torch you. But he's not going to be the guy who's getting scripted all these pass catching plays.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it, because I was really struck by his lateral agility. I think that's a really underrated part of his game, like his ability to get east and west and run away from people. I think was really underrated, and I think a lot of people I don't think a lot of people saw 4.49 coming at the combine. But again, he's smaller than I thought he would be, so I don't want to give him too, like, I don't know. He's, because you should run a little faster if you're a little bit smaller than expected, so I don't want to double count that. But I think he's like the answer to who the RB2 is in this class. To me, is I think I'm a little bit more confident than you. Maybe I would definitively say Jadarian Price. Like I know there is some narrative out there that, man, I don't want to pick the RB2 in this class. I was like, I'll raise my hand and pick it. Jadarian Price. That'd be my answer. So
it would be mine as well. Like I said, though, I think number 3 is really close. I think number 4 is, I think it's close. I think it's pretty close to 2, but like, I think the gap between 2 and 4 is small. Not necessarily that whoever, comes out at 4, and we'll get to that in a minute, could be number 2. I just think that RB4 and RB2 are pretty close together.
Yeah. I agree. Man, I'm just gonna do it because I'm just gonna make a bet on a profile and give me Omar Cooper Jr. here. Um, he is the exact kind of profile that we are looking to attack in Dynasty. 6 feet, about 200 pounds. When I watched the tape, um, he kind of reminded me of Brandon Ayuk a little bit, and I don't know. And I said this before. Elijah Surratt was there, and you have this RPO kind of run heavy offense, and he wasn't consistent enough for me. I mean, I think some of the time, um, like his routes weren't always as crisp. But I also wonder too, like if he knew that it was going to be a running play, and so he's not given 100%. I don't know. It was just kind of weird. Like I wish he would have been more consistent. I also wish I would have had more film on him. I think I do have more film to watch because we recently got a new subscription to a different place. So I think there is more film for us to watch. But the plays that I did see him make, I went, yep. I just kind of sat back and went, yeah, that's going to work in the NFL. And I would not be shocked. Maybe some people would be if he's a first round pick in the NFL draft. Just kind of like Brandon Ayuk was. So that's my comp for him. I'll throw it to you at the 109
Yeah, I don't think Omar Cooper Jr. is
or
better than
110.
Elijah Surratt. I do appreciate you planting your flag there. I certainly don't think Omar Cooper Jr. is better than Denzel Boston. So that's going
Okay.
to be my pick here. Out of Washington, I really liked what he was able to put on tape for the past couple of years. He has that kind of alpha, body physique that we look for in terms of people who could just absolutely dominate targets. Now we're in a new era of the NFL, right? We're a Amon-Ra St. Brown who plays a lot of slot, doesn't have that, Andre Johnson, Calvin Johnson, Nico Collins, DeAndre Hopkins, whatever, super tall plus 200 pounds, physique to him, can still go out and gain, 28 or earn 28% of the targets. We're in a new era where that's very possible. But when you get a guy like Denzel Boston, who's fast, can play outside and can just big body everybody out there while still running a lot of routes. Now, Jordan Tyson, I believe, is the epitome of this class of that kind of archetype, but similar bet, just with, a slightly less talented or, decently less talented, depending on how you want to look at it, player here. So I like Denzel Boston as the wide receiver 5 in this class. I do think there's a teardrop between KC Concepcion and the rest of the receivers out here. But I also think he's kind of the last of the receivers that I want to start targeting before I start hitting more of these running backs and one tight end more.
Yeah. Boston, I think, is a really good player. I just think there's more upside with Omar Cooper Jr. But I will admit, there's more risk in taking a player like Omar Cooper Jr., but that's the kind of player I'm going to bet on at this stage in the draft, at least for me. So I will accept that. Let's see. I could go in a couple different directions here, but I'm just going to throw up a tight end that I think is really the end of a tier at that position, and that's Eli Stowers. In a tight end premium, I think he's got a great chance to land well. And the first player that came to mind when I was watching him play was Evan Ingram. And also, similarly to Sadiq, he did not play a lot in line. It was about 25% of the time. But I think he can block well enough to eventually play there sometimes. And I think when you're looking for an athletic tight end, a fantasy producing tight end, this is the kind of profile that you're looking for in Eli Stowers. And I could really see him screaming up boards similarly to, I think he's in a similar, I don't think he's as good as Colston Loveland, but I think might be in a similar like I don't maybe he won't get taken 10th overall, but I could see him getting taken in the first round, maybe a little bit higher than people expect because of the profile. So I'm a big fan, very athletic. And like I said, I think he's the exact kind of profile that we're looking to target in fantasy football. And there aren't many other tight ends that I like as well. So that's a part of it too. So I'm going to dominate the tight ends here.
I'm going to go with another Husky out of Washington, my RB3, Jonah Coleman.
Okay.
And reason I like Jonah Coleman so much is a lot of because of the pass catching. I like what I see as a runner from the size perspective. He's a little small in height, 5'8", but 220, putting up, like a 97th percentile BMI. That's some solid size. I wonder, now that I got me thinking about it, how similar that is to the muscle hamster, Doug Martin, in terms of his size. Let's see, on playerprofile.com, 5'9", 223. And honestly, pretty similar in terms of 40-yard dash. Now, Jonah Coleman didn't run the 40, but I imagine that means he's probably close to that 4.55 range. Otherwise, if he was faster than that, he probably would have ran. He could be slower than that. Based on tape, I don't think so. But the other thing is 23 receptions each season over his last 3 years of college. He is a pass catcher. He's very good at it, and ended his senior season with a nearly 10% target share. He had 27 touchdowns over his last 2 seasons. Very productive running back, and somebody who's going to be very highly ranked out of the running backs in this draft class.
Yeah, I think from a fantasy perspective, you can really get behind the pass catching ability, right, and the production in college. I just think it's going to be so fascinating to see where these running backs get drafted, because he's another guy that I could definitely see getting drafted in day 2. And if he gets a good landing spot, you just never know what his fantasy usage might be. But again, similarly to Jadarian Price, probably going to be a member of a committee, at least in my opinion. I think, both Jadarian Price and Jonah Coleman here, very kind of similar-ish to, you mentioned David Montgomery earlier, maybe not a perfect example, but very David Montgomery-ish in the way that they play. So I like that a lot. To start off round 2 here, again, I don't know if I'm just going to go by my rankings or to see how many people I can draft that I want. I'm going to go with the other Indiana wide receiver, because the more that I watched Elijah Surratt, the more that I just realized, again, similarly to Casey Concepcion, he's just always open. He's not flashy. It's not the Omar Cooper Jr. type that's just going to kind of dazzle you, but he's just a grinder, man. And when I was kind of reading up on him, I think Daniel Jeremiah has him comped to Alan Lazard, and I was like, that's really good. I'm gonna steal that, and that's kind of my comp for him too, is Alan Lazard. But Alan Lazard, not a terrible player in the NFL. He's certainly had his ups and downs, but I think he's maybe profile's a little bit better than Alan Lazard, but certainly more upside. So anyway, I'll throw out Elijah Surratt here as just a grinder wide receiver who on film always gets open, always catches everything. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's who I was going to go with. I'm going to take another upside shot here, another running back, because again, Surratt was kind of my firewall there. Mike Washington Jr. So the craze after the combine, after getting a 4.33, 99th percentile 40-yard dash. But the other thing, besides his breakaway ability, I do think he has some pretty good vision. He's certainly not the purest runner in this class, but when he finds that hole and hits it, he hits the second level so fast. He's also a solid pass catcher. He had almost 30 receptions last year, 11% target share. So, out of Arkansas, I think again, definitely the fourth best running back in this class to me. I think he has some work to do as a runner, and again, might find himself in a committee. But we're at a stretch of the draft where I'm not necessarily super comfortable with anybody stepping in day one and proving themselves. Because, like you said, like going all the way back to Omar Cooper or Jadarian Price, even like we could see a lot of these guys going at various ranges in the draft. Omar Cooper could be a first round pick. He could be a late second, early third in a weird situation. Like there's a lot of variance that can happen to some of these guys. So right now I'm trying to still kind of be a little bit more prospect centric. Now, if Mike Washington, if the 4.3 speed doesn't do it for anybody or for them, and for some reason guys like Emmett Johnson or other running backs get pushed up and Mike Washington becomes a midday 3 pick that's in the middle of like some gross 3-man committee, like I'm probably not going to be taking him at the 2-2. But as of right now, if anybody has wowed NFL prospects or NFL scouts over the past couple of months, it's him. And I like the upside that he could potentially provide in the right situation.
Yeah, and if there's a running back to take a swing on, if you're kind of about the players in a certain range, it would be him because he ranked out of all the running backs in this class, he ranked 4th according to PFF in breakaway runs, and number 2 on that list would be Jeremiah Love. So again, athletically, the profile, I think it's a home run swing to take, and maybe a little bit early for my taste, but I can't fault the process. I think at this point, I don't know if this is going to be a shock to anybody, and I certainly haven't clued you in because I want to win this mock draft. I'm throwing Ted Hurst up here, baby. Ted Hurst. Let me just pull this up real fast because as I was watching Ted Hurst, I've watched tape on just about 20 wide receivers. I've watched tape on more than that, but I've written up about 20 wide receivers. And out of all of them, I came away from watching Ted Hurst going, oh my goodness gracious, this guy could be something really, really good. He's a dynamic talent that can play all over the field. He best profiles to me as an outside wide receiver, given his size and strength, but I think he could play in the slot as well. And kind of like when I was watching Carnell Tate, and I'm not saying he's Carnell Tate, but he was just able to gain separation all over the field. He was able to beat deep double coverage deep down the field. He's also a savvy player. I saw him help out his quarterback come back to the ball. He's fast. He's athletic. He tested well at the combine, running a 4.42 40-yard dash at 6'4", 206 pounds. He's 21 years old, going to turn 22 in July. But like if you're looking for a wide receiver, and I would kind of doubt he gets taken this high, but if you're looking for a wide receiver that could be an absolute home run, and literally my comp is Carnell Tate light, because when I had similar feelings when I was watching Ted Hurst that I did with Carnell Tate. Now, obviously, the play at Georgia State, like the level of competition isn't what Ohio State plays. So there are concerns there. I'm also a little bit worried about the drops. He did not grade out well according to PFF in this area. That is a concern. But again, if the drops weren't an issue and he was playing at, say, Georgia instead of Georgia State, he would likely have a first-round grade attached to his name, in my opinion. But I think he's probably more likely going to get taken in round 3 of the NFL draft. But again, I think the upside, there's just upside for days with this pick.
No acknowledgement to me whatsoever throughout in that speech.
No, I was looking at other things. What
do
were
you
you
remember?
doing?
Do you remember when we put out our rankings and I had Ted Hurst at 25 and you said, "Oh, I got to check that guy out."
Yeah. Okay. I remember now.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
It's definitely higher than what I would have been willing to put him at right now. But I appreciate somebody who's on my side to the degree where maybe I could start, pumping those rookie numbers up a little bit and getting
Yeah.
that ranking up because
Listen,
he's a very good player, man.
This second round is, in my opinion, and more so, and I know we say it all the time, more so than any other year, just go get who you want to get. Just like I am going to be chasing upside in the second round because it is, it's kind of an island of like a bunch of different guys. Like it's a lot of uncertainty in the second round of this class, and the more honestly I look into this class, the more I'm like, man, I'm maybe gonna be looking to trade away some of these picks as we get closer, or at least try to, because but if I can't, I'm stuck here at the 203. Yeah, Ted Hurst is one of my guys officially, and I think maybe when we do a sleepers episode, although I don't know if he qualifies as a sleeper, the ever evolving definition of whatever a sleeper is in fantasy football, I guess to some people he could be, but Ted Hurst, man, I think he's going to be a Dynasty roundtable guy. I think we might have to put him down in a spreadsheet somewhere and track him to see how good he does. Anyway.
Yeah, I guess, am I just going to end up being the running back guy? Because like I'm kind of just going off of rankings, and like you just refuse to take any running backs. So which I don't blame you, because I mean, some of these guys are going to have to hit, but I could also see me not wanting any of them come post actual NFL draft. So I'll just get the prospects out, and we can, talk about landing spots when that time comes. But Emmett Johnson's another guy I really like, and I had him, much higher in the a few spots higher in the rankings than where we're at now. So I'm going to go ahead and take him. Another very fast and athletic running back that can catch passes. And I think Emmett's problem is not having that full breakaway speed. He has enough speed to get by, but he doesn't have necessarily that full breakaway speed. Didn't perform very well in the bench press, so there's questions as to what his strength is. I think he's more of a satellite back. He had a 16% target share in Nebraska last year, which is absolutely insane. He had 46 receptions. So I worry about him more as a pure runner and kind of fitting more into that third down back kind of role. But Player Profiler has his closest comp at Kenny Gainwell, which I actually don't hate in terms of his archetype. But if you're actually getting a really healthy amount, if you're a 1B in an offense that's getting 13% of the targets, and you're getting a lot of targets in action in the pass game, you could be a valuable pass catcher. And I mean, just look at Woody Marks, right? Like if you find yourself in the right situation, you can end up being the 1A at any given moment. So, I have reservations as to how the NFL draft is going to go for him, but I'll take Emmett Johnson here.
Number one, according to PFF and missed tackles forced, would be Emmett Johnson.
Very shifty.
Very shifty. I like that pick a lot. He's one of the running backs that I would take in this range. So nice job. I'm gonna keep doing it. Skylar Bell, another guy, and you let me know what you think of this comp. When the first player that came to my mind when I was watching him was Jaden Reed, and I absolutely love Jaden Reed at Michigan State. Let's bring this up real quick, but just like the tape and the ball skills are really good. Very twitchy. There's a lot to like. He's super athletic. Mostly probably is going to play in the slot at the NFL level, but I think he could play outside receiver too. I think his probably his greatest skill is his ability to win contested catches. Now, I do wish at times he was able to get a little bit more separation, because I do think that if we start any conversation with, hey, this guy's really good at contested catches, that's kind of a red flag. But his ball skills, I think, were on another level, and his run after the catch is really good too. Now, again, my worries are twofold. One, I wonder if UConn schemed him up or had to scheme him up more times than not, and this led to his level of openness as opposed to his actual ability to beat coverage. And then number 2 is the level of competition at UConn. But that's really it. Everything else that I watched, I loved. Jaden Reed, Jalen Knoll, Roman Wilson. He kind of feels like one of those guys. And I will admit I fell for Roman Wilson, and maybe it's not over for Roman Wilson yet. I don't know. But I really like this archetype of player. So I'll throw it to you.
All right, we're already at 45 minutes, so I'm going to start kind of powering through my takes here. Probably should have been 2-4 because it's a super flex draft, but I'm not going to let him slide past 2-6, even though I don't love him. Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
I think he's solid. He's just raw. He just needs time to develop, and he's going to be most likely, almost certainly, the second quarterback off the board.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting if he gets drafted in the first round. I think that this is, where he's going to go, maybe early second round. But yeah, it's his landing spot's going to be one that's going to be fascinating. Let's see. You went really fast there. I guess I'll throw up a wide receiver I've come around on, and that's Chris Brazzell. Getting him here feels like good value. He is one of those Tennessee wide receivers that you're like, you aren't sure. What are you laughing about?
You've taken the person who I've been looking at, and barring Ted Hurst, who I would have taken at the end of this round for the past 4 picks, and they've all been receivers. It's insane.
But the game against Georgia sticks out. I think it was Georgia where he caught 3 touchdown passes. And I just think he's going to have to develop as a route runner. That's really, I do think the Tennessee thing is a valid concern. And, the frame, like he's a little bit on the thinner side. But other than that, I think his ability to gain separation down the field is really, really good. So anyway, I'll throw it to you.
Take another freaking running back, I guess. Nicholas Singleton at the 2.8 feels like good value to me.
Yeah.
Without the broken foot, it feels like that wouldn't be how this is playing out. Obviously, that can change a lot on draft day. It could be a team that, like a Chiefs, for example, that has their guy in Kenneth Walker, and then takes Nicholas Singleton to as a luxury pick. So I could see draft day really screwing this one up, but I like the talent too much to let him slip past 2.8.
Yeah. I like that. Nicholas Singleton has been one of my guys. I have lowered him down the rankings just because there are more wide receivers that I like. But the breakout, I think he's one of the only, if not the only, running back in this class that broke out as a freshman. And I think the tape's really good, especially from a pass catching perspective. I think he can be a true, he's one of the rare running backs in this class that I think could be a true 3-down running back, but maybe I'm in the minority there. Let's go. Oh gosh, dang it. What do I do? F it. I'm going to take a guy that might be a little early to take him. I don't know. But a former 5-star recruit, a guy, another wide receiver that when I turned on the tape, I went, what is going on here? And why does Georgia refuse to use this guy on anything other than wide receiver screens? I don't understand, because the routes that I did see him run, now it wasn't a full route tree, so maybe that's a part of the reason why they only used him on wide receiver screens, but I'm going to tell you, they used him on wide receiver screens because they wanted to get the ball in his hands because he's really freaking good with the ball in his hands. Zachariah Branch. So if some NFL team, the right NFL team, gets their hands on Zachariah Branch, watch out, because I think he can be more than just a screen merchant at the next level. I do. If he can figure out how to run a full route tree, and I will grant you that's a big if. But the routes I did see him run, out routes, just crisp as all get out, just all kinds of separation. I just don't know why Georgia didn't use him more than they did. That's the only question I have.
Yeah, I just think he profiles as a guy who's a gadget guy that doesn't offer much, but we are towards the back end of the second round. So it's, as good a time as any to start taking shots. I'm just going to keep taking running back value, I guess. Why not? Katron Allen, teammate of Nick Singleton. I think it says a lot about Katron Allen being able to come in and take a lot of work off of Nick Singleton, back-to-back seasons of 1,100 plus rushing yards, had 900 as a sophomore, and still pretty active in the passing game. Again, Nicholas Singleton, not like the best pass catcher in the world, but no slouch either. So they were able to kind of share passing game work as well. Yeah, it's my pick here.
Yeah, and I'm gonna keep on drafting wide receivers. I guess we're just gonna go back and forth.
That's the way it is.
Jacoby Lane's tape is pretty good. Again, not a perfect player, but at this stage in the draft, I think you can do a heck of a lot worse than Jacoby Lane, who I wrote down for a comp, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I don't know if it's a perfect comp or not, but MVS could have been good in a different reality, right? So you never know.
I'm going to take a shot in a super flex format on Garrett Nussmeier.
Oh,
I think he's better than Carson Beck.
Okay.
I think finding out at the combine that Nussmeier was playing through a shoulder injury all year really put things into perspective as to why he looked so bad and posted a down year after the season before, where he was looking at a potential first round pick. He was kind of like a Drew Aller-esque prospect where I don't know if he was going to be a first round pick, but I mean, he went from throwing 525 times in 13 games for 4,000 yards and 29 touchdowns to 1,900 yards on 288 passes and only 12 touchdowns with 5 interceptions. So it was certainly weird as to what happened there. But again, just with this quarterback class, I think there's going to be somebody that's not Simpson or Mendoza that's worth taking a shot on here, just based off of, draft capital. Maybe not, but as of right now, with who's left on the board, I think I'm fine taking that shot.
Yeah, and I'm gonna break the record for taking most wide receivers in one of these mock drafts because Chris Bell feels like a really good value at this stage because I literally have this written down, and I think it's the best way to sum up Chris Bell. I think he has the upside of Deebo Samuel with the downside of Treylon Burks because he's one of these like 6'2", 222-pound guys who's really good after the catch. Now he is coming off of a late season ACL tear. So he could be a guy that we would be talking about more if he stayed healthy, because in 11 games, 917 yards, 6 touchdowns. So his season could have been even better at Louisville than that final year. But again, just taking shots on guys with upside here. I'll throw it to you at the 302.
I'm going to take Jeremy Bernard here and finally take a receiver.
There you go.
One thing I saw, I don't think he was used super well at Alabama. The one thing I saw that I really loved was him in line blocking defensive ends. I saw some clips circulating of that, and that is something that's really going to elevate him at the next level and keep him on the field. It's going to be really important, especially for a guy his size. He's not small at 6'1", 206. But, somebody who profiles a little bit more, at least played more, kind of like slot receiver-ish at Alabama, kind of used a little bit more gadgety in some facets. I don't think that's how he needs to be used. I think he needs to develop a better route tree. But if you're going to be able to go in line and chip a defensive end at the next level, then you're going to be on the field.
Yeah. That would have been my next pick. So you robbed me of a chance to take another wide receiver. So, there's a lot of different ways I could go here, and I'm just gonna throw this guy up here because I just kind of want to, and that would be Cole Payton from North Dakota State. Another guy that I've watched film on. He could be just another guy from North Dakota State that's a run first type of quarterback, but he looks like he can just chuck the ball downfield. Like, it's probably a bad comp, but my comp for him was an athletic Joe Flacco, just because of the balls he would throw like 60 yards down the field with just a flick of the wrist. Like the arm strength is there, the mobility is there. It's just like the level of competition. You wonder, okay, can this guy make it at the NFL level? But in the third round, definitely a guy that I would take a shot on.
I'm going to follow up with Carson Beck.
Okay, Carson Beck. It's funny. I was way higher on Carson Beck before I started digging into the film and some other things, but I respect the pick at this stage of the game. I'm going to throw up Brandon Thompson from Mississippi State. Again, a guy that tested, he was really fast at the combine, a guy whose film is, I think, pretty good, but again, I'm just chasing a profile here in the third round, so I'll throw it to you.
I'm going to take Damon Claiborne out of Vanderbilt, just continuing, I guess, to hammer. I'm kind of just going by my rankings, but just continue to hammer receivers or running backs that I think, some of these guys are going to end up in good spots and we're going to want a piece of them. Claiborne has a really good profile out of Vanderbilt.
Yeah. I am going to shock you, maybe, and maybe this is like cheating because I think on some website he's not I wonder if he's even in here. Let's see. Maybe he's not in here. Yeah, he's not in here. Eli Heidenrich from Navy. So I don't know. We need a fill in for him. How am I gonna do? Who should be the fill in for Heidenrich?
Sounds like someone whose parents lived in Argentina in the mid to late 1940s.
We'll throw Anthony Hackerson in here, and shame on Sleeper for not having the stud running back. Somebody. The stud running back. So my official pick is Eli Heidenrich, who I think is probably going to be more of a wide receiver at the next level, because he's listed as a wide receiver in some spots. And he's definitely not a fullback because he's barely 200 pounds. But again, somebody that I want to take a shot on at this stage, not whatever that guy's name is. Anyway, I'll throw it to you.
Went to the same school as Christian Watson and his brother, plays a lot like Christian Watson, has the athleticism of Christian Watson, but is the brother of Trey Lance. Give me Bryce Lance.
Bryce Lance. Yes. There's no Bryce Lance in here?
Really?
Oh my God, Sleeper. What
respect.
Are you doing? You're getting Lance Mason.
Fair enough.
And you'll like it.
Enough.
309. All right, let's regroup. Let's look at the rankings. I'll take a chance. I don't really love this player. He didn't test very well at the combine, but give me Malachi Fields. I just need to add to my wide receiver collection, I guess. And he's actually in the database, so there you go. 310. We have 3 more picks to go.
I'll take Max Clare. Get back to the tight ends.
Max Clare, I think he might be a better actual real life player than fantasy player, but that probably
we're at the 310. I'm gonna just start taking some shots.
No, I hear you. I'm criticizing you. What a dick I am. Criticizing your 310 pick was a little bit antiquated, or I don't even know if that's even a criticism.
we talk about it every time when we get to these picks, but like the great Jerry Sinclair said, if I dropped my 310 on the ground, I wouldn't stop to pick it back up.
Yeah, I mean, if you could trade any of these third round picks for anything that could possibly help you, he's gaining a little bit of steam. Let's see if this guy's in the database. I want to take a running back because I'm sick of taking wide receivers. For my last pick, I'm going to take Robert Henry, and of course he's not in the database. Why is he not in the database? All right, so who's gonna? Is there a Robert? There's no Robert. What about a Bob? Is there a Bob? Do we have a Bob? There's no Bob. I just don't want to take somebody that you would take. Preston Fox is going to be, or Mark Fletcher is going to be a stand-in for the guy I just took here, which is Robert Henry Jr. from University of Texas San Antonio, I believe. So I'll throw it to you for the last pick.
Take the running back out of. By rankings, I should probably just take Seth McGowan, and that's who I'm just gonna go with.
You think he's in here?
He should be.
He's not.
I do also really. He's not. I also really love Desmond Reed, so you can just go ahead and put him in there if you want, because they're one's 24 and one's 27 in my rankings. I think Desmond Reed would be in a completely different situation rankings wise if he didn't get hurt, if he didn't play through injuries last year, because his year one at Pittsburgh was incredible. Similarly, I think Seth McGowan, a lot of industry people like him a lot. I haven't really gotten to break down his film specifically too much. So they're kind of a tie for me. So I'll just go with the player that's available in the database.
All right, Matt Babich. This is going to be pretty hard in round 3 to recap the draft, but
I'll do it.
Recap the draft.
All right, starting with the 101, I will break it up by round. Starting at the 101, we have Jeremiah Love, then Fernando Mendoza, then Jordan Tyson, then Carnell Tate, then Mekhi Lemon, then Casey Concepcion, then Kenyon Sadiq, then Jadarian Price, Omar Cooper Jr., Denzel Boston, Eli Stowers, and Jonah Coleman to round out round 1. Elijah Surratt, Mike Washington Jr., Ted Hurst, Emmett Johnson, Skylar Bell, Ty Simpson, Chris Brazel, Nick Singleton, Zachariah Branch, Katron Allen, Jacoby Lane, and Garrett Nussmeyer complete round 2. Seth, helped me out with some of the fill-ins that you did when we get there. But starting round 3, Chris Bell, Jeremy Bernard, Cole Payton. Did I say, is that his first name?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know why I was blanking there. Carson Beck, B. Thompson,
Brendan Thompson,
Damon Claiborne, Seth 3-7 is
Eli Heidenrich.
3-8 is Max Clare. Oh no, it's not. 3-8 is.
Who did you
give me? Bryce Lance.
Bryce Lance.
Of
course 39. It is. We remember who we took.
Malachi Fields. It's been a long day and a long show. 3-9 Malachi Fields. 3-10 Max Clare. 3-11 Seth is
Robert Henry Jr.
And then 3-12 to round us out is Desmond Reed.
Matt Babich. Final words of wisdom for the people.
I don't have anything else today.
No words.
Rest.
No words.
Give your mind a rest, folks. That's
right. Do never here. I've got some words of wisdom for you. Never doubt the Iowa Hawkeyes ever again. Well, maybe that's not good advice because I doubt them all the time. But beating Florida, incredible. One of the best wins in program history. So shout out to the Hawkeyes. And don't doubt those Hawks, baby. In heaven there is no beer. As my voice cracked terribly. I'm going to leave that in. Don't worry. Until next time, nobody cares about Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he has a contract yet. I don't think he deserves one. See you later, everybody. Be good. And click the like button, subscribe, follow us in all the places and the TikToks. The TikToks are flowing. So go watch some of those. And until next time, we already said nobody cares about Aaron Rodgers. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.